Check out shares of Netflix right now, down by just about 1.5%. The streaming giant topped Wall Street estimates, raised its full-year revenue guidance, citing healthy member growth and ad sales. Joining us now, Tom Rogers, Claigrid executive chairman. Excuse me. He's also the former president of NBC Cable News and a CNBC contributor. Tom, great to see you. Good morning.
Great to see you, Melissa, and happy birthday to Becky.
I'm sure she's watching, Tom. You've been a Netflix bull for a very long time, but I'm wondering, at this point, we're just, about 7-8% off of all-time highs on Netflix. And now we're watching YouTube actually gaining in terms of the total percent of market share in the U.S. in terms of TV viewership. At what point do you start getting a little bit concerned about the Netflix story?
Well, I think you're pointing out something very important. In the past, I've come on here and knocked down the bear thesis as a extreme bull on Netflix. But I do think it's appropriate to start talking about what some of the worries might be, even for a bull like myself. I think YouTube's growth, remember, not long ago, both YouTube on the TV and Netflix had about the same share of TV viewing at about 8% each. Netflix is still at about 8%, and YouTube has grown to about 12.5% of total TV viewing. And so that represents some kind of change in terms of what's going on in the TV viewing world in terms of that kind of engagement going to YouTube. You underscore that by looking at how much the share of streaming overall has grown over the last year. It's up about 6% relative to linear television, and Netflix still has not grown its share as the share of streaming overall has grown. I think what may be more concerning is not that statistic today, but what could really fuel YouTube going forward relative to the kind of big-time production that Netflix does that YouTube really hasn't engaged in. And that is where AI comes in. And the kind of creator shows, user-generated shows that many spend a lot of time watching on YouTube is really going to get a huge boost from the ease with which AI can create professional-looking content that could really boost YouTube's share going forward.
On the conference call, Netflix did talk about how they used AI in an Argentine series. And Tom, there are other ways that they can sort of bolster, their content, because it's basically an arms race. In order to keep members engaged, in order to increase that share, they're going to have to come up with more and more. And granted, the second half of the year is going to be a very sort of content-heavy part of the year. What does Netflix need to do now strategically? There's some suggestion that perhaps they buy a content library, although on the call they said we're more builders than buyers. What do you think? Should they move into user-generated content in some way? Is there some way that AI can create programming for Netflix?
Well, they made the point on the earnings call, which is an important point, which is that even their biggest hit show won't be responsible for more than 1% of viewing engagement on Netflix. So they need a lot more behind it than a hit show. Now, still on the hit show front, they have more hit shows than all the other streaming services combined. Yet, they used to have about 80% of the regular top 10 list of shows in the streaming world. Now they're down to about 50%. And with that, their engagement per viewer as their subscriber base continues to grow has declined. One of the things they're doing that's interesting that might go the other way beyond getting into the kind of user-generated content that YouTube is known for is putting free services into the Netflix platform. These so-called fast channels, free advertising-supported TV channels, are the other thing, along with YouTube, that has really been mostly growing streaming share. In France, last month, Netflix announced that TF1, which is their big broadcaster, which is like ABC, NBC, CBS combined, would now be available within Netflix. So a Netflix subscriber could watch free over-the-air television inside Netflix. We may see that kind of thing being embraced by Netflix, so that beyond what they're known for in terms of major produced shows, embracing other kinds of existing broadcast television as a way to grow viewership within the platform.